You walk down the hallway of your home, push open the door, and a voice from the corner of the room clearly says, "Hello." The voice sounds exactly like yours. The pitch, the cadence, the subtle inflection at the end of the vowel. It is a perfect auditory mirror. You look over at the metal cage by the window, where a brightly colored parrot tilts its head, blinks a dark eye, and stares back at you. You smile. You likely think this is a clever trick. You think it is a sign of affection. Perhaps it is just the product of a highly intelligent pet trying to entertain you, but you are looking at this behavior through a uniquely human lens. If you peel back the layers of time and travel deep into the dense, suffocating humidity of a prehistoric rainforest, you will find a very different truth. For millions of years, the ability to steal the voice of another creature had absolutely nothing to do with entertainment. It was a ruthless tool forged in a brutal environment. It was an evolutionary weapon. Imagine you are dropped into the heart of the Amazon basin 2 million years ago. The canopy above you is so thick it completely blocks out the sun, turning the world beneath the leaves into a chaotic labyrinth of shadows, humidity, and emerald green foliage. In this environment, your eyes are almost entirely useless. You cannot see a predator approaching from 20 feet away. You cannot see the rest of your flock when they fly just one tree over. How do you survive in a place where your primary senses betray you? The only way to survive, the only way to navigate this suffocating green maze, is through sound. But the jungle is entirely deafening. It is a constant, screaming wall of noise. Millions of insects buzz. Monkeys howl in the distance. Frogs scream from the undergrowth, and rain violently shatters against the broad leaves. If you are a prey animal, being separated from your group in this sensory chaos means certain death. A harpy eagle or a stealthy tree boa will find you long before you ever find your flock again. You need a tether. You need an invisible, unbreakable thread that connects you to your family through the crushing wall of noise. This is where evolution engineered a radical, almost alien solution inside the skull of these birds. For a long time, the exact mechanism of this vocal theft remained a total mystery to human observers. But neurobiologists, studying the brains of these colorful birds, uncovered a structural anomaly that exists nowhere else in the animal kingdom. All birds that possess the ability to learn sounds have specific, clustered regions in their brains dedicated to vocalization, often referred to as core centers. But researchers discovered that parrots possess something extra, something entirely unique to their lineage. Wrapped completely around these core centers is a secondary layer. It is an outer shell of neuron. This shell acts like an advanced audio processing and replication engine. The discovery of this outer shell completely shifted the scientific understanding of animal intelligence. The larger this outer shell is in a specific species of parrot, the greater its ability to perfectly duplicate novel, alien sounds from the environment. Maintaining this dense network of neurons takes an immense amount of metabolic energy. The bird must consume vastly more calories just to keep this vocal processor running. Evolution is a ruthless accountant, and it absolutely does not waste precious energy on parlor tricks. This complex neural machinery was built because it was the only way to solve a high-stakes problem of survival. But having the neural software to process sounds is only half the battle. To actually project these stolen voices into the world, the bird must possess highly specialized hardware. Unlike humans, birds do not have vocal cords housed in a larynx. Instead, deep inside their chest, at the base of the trachea where the lungs split, they possess an organ called a syrinx. In most birds, this is a simple instrument, but controlled by the outer shell of a parrot brain. The syrinx becomes a biological synthesizer. It is surrounded by complex muscles that can change the shape of the organ in fractions of a second, allowing the bird to produce two completely different pitches simultaneously. How does a creature with a hard beak make the soft sounds of human lips? Because birds lack fleshy lips and teeth, they have to physically manipulate their trachea and use their thick, muscular tongues to alter the resonance of the air. They physically hack their own anatomy to fake the acoustic illusion of human speech. The sheer mechanical effort required to do this is staggering. To understand why a bird would expend such massive energy, you must look at exactly how they move and socialize in the wild. Unlike a wolf pack or a primate troop that maintains the exact same family members for years at a time, parrot flocks are incredibly fluid. They operate in a state of constant social chaos called fission and fusion. A small flock of 20 birds might merge with a massive flock of 500 to feed on a giant fruiting fig tree or to consume minerals at a clay lick by the river. It is a chaotic, noisy gathering. A few hours later, a predator attacks. The superflock shatters in a panic, and hundreds of birds scatter into the dense canopy. When the dust settles and the adrenaline fades, a bird might find itself flying with 10 completely different individuals than it woke up with. There is no time to establish physical dominance. There is no time to get to know everyone over weeks of interaction. You must instantly prove that you belong to this new group, or you will be driven away as an outsider. And a solitary bird in the rainforest is a dead bird. So, how do you instantly prove you belong to a group of strangers when you all look exactly the same? You learn their password. Every microflock develops a unique, highly specific acoustic signature, a local dialect of contact calls. When a bird joins a new flock, its brain goes into absolute overdrive. The outer shell of its song system begins analyzing the specific frequencies, the microclicks, and the subtle whistles of the birds flying alongside it. Within a matter of hours, the newcomer forcefully alters its own vocal cords to match the new dialect perfectly. It is not mimicking out of admiration. It is mimicking to cloak itself in the acoustic camouflage of the group. If it sounds like the group, it is accepted by the group. It is granted access to the best foraging spots, to hundreds of extra eyes watching the sky for eagles, and to the physical safety of the collective mass. But the biological deception goes even deeper than simply blending into a crowd. In the wild, mimicking a specific individual is a highly tactical move. If a mated pair is separated by a mile of impenetrable foliage, they do not just shout a generic alarm call into the void. One bird will perfectly mimic the specific, unique vocal signature of its mate. It is essentially calling the other bird by its exact, personalized name, cutting right through the background noise of millions of insects and thousands of other animals. The mimicry acts as a targeted homing beacon. It forces the receiver to pay immediate attention because the receiver is hearing its own identity reflected back at it from across the jungle. And here lies the great paradox of the parrot brain, the twisting reality of their psychology. For centuries, humans assumed that when a bird copies a sound, it is trying to become that thing. If it barks like a dog, it is imitating the dog. If it speaks human words, it is trying to be human. But the brutal truth of the natural world dictates the exact opposite. The bird is not trying to be you. It is actively trying to turn you into a bird, to a captive bird, separated from the endless, fluid flocks of the wild rainforest. You are the only other large, moving organism in its territory. Its brain, hardwired by millions of years of evolutionary terror of being left alone, goes into a state of chronic panic. It must establish a social bond. It must merge with your flock. So, it listens. It observes your habits with the same intensity it would use to monitor a shifting canopy. It analyzes the sounds you make to communicate with your environment. It hears the phrases you repeat every single time you enter a room. It hears the sharp beep of the microwave that causes you to walk into the kitchen. It hears the electronic ringtone that makes you rush to pick up a piece of plastic and glass. To the bird, these are your contact calls. These are the acoustic passwords that control the movements of your flock. By perfectly mimicking your voice, or the mechanical sounds that dictate your daily behavior, the bird is executing a million-year-old survival protocol. It is attempting to force a social bond by reflecting your own acoustic triggers back at you. It is a brilliant, desperate act of psychological manipulation. The bird knows, through its advanced neural processing shell, that if it makes the exact sound you respond to, you will look at it, you will walk toward it, you will interact with it, you will validate its existence within the group. You will not leave it behind in the dark to be picked off by predators. Every single time the bird mimics you, it is actively trying to manage your behavior to ensure its own survival. It is weaving that invisible, unbreakable thread of sound, casting it out across your living room, hoping it wraps around you tightly enough that you never abandon the flock. The next time you walk down the hallway of your home, push open the door and hear that familiar voice say, "Hello." Do not just hear a clever pet performing a trick for your amusement. You are hearing the echo of a prehistoric jungle. You are hearing a highly evolved survival engine, running a complex neural program designed to keep it alive in a ruthless, chaotic world. It is reaching out across the vast biological divide, using the only weapon it has ever known, stealing your voice just to make sure you remember it is there. If you want to keep decoding the hidden, brutal truths behind the animals sharing the modern world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and never stop looking closely at the wild hiding in plain sight.